a week ago, and we're actually doing 10 to 15K a month, we saw in the attribution, OpenAI actually ChatGPT as a source. And you can see this in Shopify.
My name's Sasha. I've helped over 2,000 brand founders build and grow profitable e-commerce businesses. And I'm joined by my co-host, Hamen Bamba, who's spent over $30 million on advertising and generated over $120 million on Shopify platforms for our clients. We're going to talk about the recent release of ChatGPT and Shopify integration. I've noticed a lot of other brands are already being purchased through ChatGPT Direct, and you're kind of left behind.
So it's going to be you ask, compare, confirm, and pay. So all of it within one place, and they trust again the fact that this AI is already not going to be biased, and it's going to be guiding them in what they need the most.
How is this kind of buying experience of like transaction of commerce going to change through that platform?
Think about again the buying behaviors. Let's say I want something in particular, say new headphone. ChatGPT can go and analyze everything, and they're going to start comparing.
People will move from Google over into ChatGPT because it's going to trust, the user's going to trust the actual GPT a lot more. This is a game changer for e-com. Like, this is really powerful time.
And I think business owners, they need to start looking at, well, look, what should you do right now?
Hamen, what I'd like to do is I'd like to kick off with some of the things that we've seen in clients' stores that make this announcement almost like come as no surprise. Talk to me about some of the sales and the source attribution of where these sales have come from and what you've seen, the increases of that happening over the last 3 to 6 months.
Absolutely. So first, like when I see the news, I'm already expecting that it's already happening, right? It's like if they're announcing this, then it's already there. Now, one thing when I saw this and I was like, literally a week ago, we were looking at some sales, and this is one of our clients. Like we've been looking at digital product in the past, and her business is a course, it's an online product. We have no cost of goods, and we're actually doing 10 to 15K a month. It's in the pet niche, and we saw in the attribution, OpenAI actually ChatGPT as a source. And you can see this in Shopify. If you go to Shopify and you click on an order, you can see that there's like a box in the corner where they tell you the attribution. And in her case, it was ChatGPT. And she asked me, she was like, what do you think about this? I was like, probably someone searched in ChatGPT and that guided them toward the path of buying from you. So think about that power when you're actually an informed buyer and you're asking AI to help you navigate. And by the way, the news was literally that OpenAI, they added an instant checkout to ChatGPT, and this is for the US users. And they can, users can already buy from Etsy sellers. So inside the chat. So think about the impact, and Shopify, the support is coming soon. So I can think about this strong kind of optimization structure where people would use AI. So it's going to be much more competitive, but you're going to have much more informed buyers. I'm actually curious about your view on this. If the buyers, they have that power.
Well, I think it's like if you think about and I look at it from the lens of also just behaviorally how over the last 6, 12, 18 months, people have really been adopting more and more use of ChatGPT. And I think everybody's increased the level of their trust in their chat or their kind of GPTs that they are speaking to. And I think it's almost superseded the trust that people have in Google. I think we may have discussed this previously, where it's in the past, I might have, gone into Google for a lot of things and looked for maybe particular kind of whether it's a product, whether it's a location, whether it's something that I want to do. And then now what I've found, especially in the last 6 to 8 months of consistently using a lot of the tools that I have on my GPTs, it's okay, I start to trust a lot more my ChatGPT versus my Google. And so if you continue kind of along that same pathway, then it goes, okay, if people are using their chat more and more and more, and their chat knows them and their personality, their buying preferences, all of their behaviors, and then they're able to reference effectively products or services or locations or particular outcomes that their user wants to actually achieve, then they can advise them more accurately. But then the problem then becomes, okay, these are the potential products that might be best suited for you. Now go to their website and purchase. And then the chat needs to send them to somewhere else, some kind of URL or something to go and make the purchase. And so it's from a user experience, that's really pretty average. You know what I mean? It's if you think about what they did with TikTok Shop. very similar. It's like what they do. They kept that buying experience on the platform and stopped users needing to go from, oh, geez, this is an amazing quality product. Let me go and Google search it. It's like, how horrible of an experience is that to be able to kind of like pull the user off the platform? And so thinking forward, it's like, as this continues to scale, it's like the Shopify being integrated into that chat and literally having the checkout directly in there to the point where it's like, this is the product that's probably best for you. Click purchase right then and there. It's like the speed and efficiency of the conversion, and I think also the intent, or like how much people will trust that kind of advisory of the chat is really going to change tremendously for brand founders in terms of like being able to utilize this as a source and a real platform to generate a lot of customers from.
Yeah, and think about this. Like, this is game changer, because in the past it was they click, they see the page, they click on that, they click on the add to cart, and they need to trust you. They need to do the checkout. There's another page, and then they buy. Right now, they trust that AI would do a lot of work, and they're already guiding them. So it's going to be, you ask, compare, confirm, and pay.
Yeah.
So all of it within one place, and they trust, again, the fact that this AI is already not going to be biased, and it's going to be guiding them into what they need the most. So I feel like trust is coming in, the need is stronger, the trust is higher, and then they're looking at comparing. It's going to be much more challenging. So I'm assuming Shopify sales are going to be like, well, we're going to have to up the game a little bit more in terms of the landing page, making sure that the information is there. But that's the direction right now. It's going to be more and more challenging. And this comes back to our episode last time where we mentioned, if you don't do things right now, you might be just not able to compete in the next period.
Correct. Exactly. And I think it's also like, I think the things that like brands can do now, it's like like compared to, for example, going into I'm not sure, building and modeling some crazy kind of like agents using like multiple different like stacks or modules and things like that to try and build your own agents. It's like, that's kind of complex, and it's probably like a long period for you to get an ROI. Talking about some things which we'll share shortly in terms of like things that you can start doing and preparing now, so that when this integration from like ChatGPT and Shopify is fully plugged in, Shopify brands are in there, it's rolled out in the US, it comes to Australia. There's some really basic things that you can do that aren't like crazy techie, and then it require you to start kind of like coding or learning like super complex details, but it's just like starting to do some of these things ahead of time will position your brand in a way where it's like in that search ahead of most other people's, and not kind of being like, oh wow, I'm noticing my traffic's declining. I'm noticing a lot of other brands are already being purchased through Shopify, through ChatGPT Direct, and you're kind of left behind. But I think it's almost like we were saying at the start. It's a trend that makes so much sense when you think about like, the inception of ChatGPT. For those that use ChatGPT on a daily basis, or any form of AI on a daily basis, try and think back to what it was like before it. Like genuinely, like if you think back to the things that you go to that tool for and you use it for today, and how accurate and how quick and how able to assimilate, so much information in such small amounts of time. It's like, God, remember a time when that didn't exist. And it's like, it pains me to think about what it would be like if you didn't have that tool. And then it's like, if you think about like how much it's changed in the last like 2 years, 3 years rather, since it's been launched, it's like disproportionately, and so you take that speed and that growth rate and extrapolate it forward. And it's like, what else is going to happen, and how is this kind of buying experience of like transaction of commerce going to change through that platform? And it's like, how can I get ahead of this? I had a conversation with a friend of mine, probably it must have been just as ChatGPT was coming out 2 years, I'd say 2.5 years ago. And he said to me, you need to position yourself and your company in a way where you are the Google search of ChatGPT. Because he's like, as this rolls out more and more and more, people will move from Google over into ChatGPT, because it's going to trust, the user's going to trust the actual GPT a lot more than just some random Google search that's not personalized. And it's like, then the game becomes, how do brands, right, fight for indexing or fight for positioning, fight for placements inside of this particular tooling? Because, there is no metadata right? The way that kind of brands are all, it's very different. You know what I mean? It's like, how is it that these kinds of like brands are able to compete for real estate inside of that type of chat is a very different game from like SEO or like any form of like metadata or any kind of like backlinking. You can't exactly do that in ChatGPT. There's no like ChatGPT agency to build backlinks into your brand on that tool.
Yes, but I think there is, like, if you look at it from another perspective, right now this is kind of the direction in the market, in terms of using AI to make decisions. So it's already there. And if you look at the big players, Shopify and others, they're already thinking, well, it's going to be the next thing. But right now, ChatGPT, essentially what they're doing, they're going to be looking at what's the information out there to help you make a decision. So for me, if you tell me, well, what should you consider, is that if you're running ads on Meta, AI might be at certain points able to even look at the ads in Meta and kind of find what's making sense for you, and look at Google and see what's making sense in there. So it can be almost like all of it is in the same place, but just people are not making decisions anymore from their own platform that you think they are. So I think that's going to make probably the thing to focus on would be how to rank, what you just mentioned. That's going to be a strong one. But also looking at, well, the rest, like you can't just ignore that AI would be looking at Meta and they're going to be looking at what's trending in there, and they're going to be looking at that side and also looking at Google and doing the research. So you have like an agent almost like doing the research for you to make a decision. So for me, that's probably going to be the focus, is what's happening in decision making, which is different. They think about the AI, they talk to the ChatGPT structure to find the product versus they just go and search and find it.
Yeah, correct. So I think it's going to be it's interesting because I think how the tool probably originated is it's transforming into so much more than what it was originally, in terms of just like, hey, write me a poem. Hey, write me some copy. You know what I mean? It's like it's becoming this complete kind of like immersive experience that knows you better than you know yourself. It's able to historically kind of guide you based on your purchasing behavior. And then you can literally exist almost completely inside of that thing, purchase everything you need. Do like if you look at what's happening with agents, and I don't know if this is rolled out yet in Australia, but you can have like the GPT. I've seen this in the US. You can be like, hey, go and place this food order for me. It will go to any particular kind of like, whether it's a local grocery, a supermarket, whatever it is. It'll select all the items that you need. It'll bring those items to the cart. It'll have them. It will send them to the delivery driver. The delivery driver, you know, it's able to do all these things, and it's like, okay, so if that's where it's going, right, it probably makes sense then to really think about how you can position your brand or do some things to, you know, put your brand in a bolstered, safe kind of way to get ahead of this, and not make it such that you're like, okay, right, like my Shopify brand exists on Facebook and Google, and now there's a whole nother platform that I have no idea about, and you're kind of left behind.
Yes, and I think about, again, the buying behaviors. People would say, well, let's say I want something in particular, like I need this, let's say, new headphone. ChatGPT can go and analyze everything, and they're going to start comparing. This is, let's say, this brand, and this is the reviews, and this is kind of like what we're looking at here. These are the functions, and they're going to analyze pretty much all the details. Like in the past, people would do this mistake of maybe ignoring some things. They're going to be like, hey, it's just, you know, the shipping policies and those details. AI won't miss this. They're going to look at, well, this is a refund policy. Well, this is the thing they have here. This business here, they're really terrible with their customers based on some reviews we've seen. So every detail would be almost like analyzed. So you need to think about that. So I think the bar is higher.
It's such an interesting point, because it's exactly what you said. Like I guess what it will remove more of is just like complete impulse buys, where it's like, oh, I saw a pretty image, purchase. You know what I mean? It's like the buyer will be more and more and more informed because of what exactly you just said. It's like the GPT will inform based on all the reviews, the shipping policy, all these things that they're easy to miss. You know what I mean? It's like if you're clicking between one or two or three of your favorite brands, you're not going to go and like read every review. You're not going to export the reviews and put them into a GPT and say, what are the patterns in what the customers are saying about the products? You know what I mean? You'll have a look at 2 or 3 reviews. You might glance quickly at the product page. You might see the nice images of the attractive girl that you like to be like or aspire to be like. You might see some like countdown timer and something of a good offer, and you'll purchase. And so it's like essentially what the GPT is going to be able to do is like summarize all of that and be like, this is the ranking score that people say in reviews. This is the common concerns. This is the, shipping and handling issues people had. If you are buying clothing, be careful because of X and Y and Z. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it's a much more accurate comparison of like, this brand's been around for 18 months. This brand's been around for 4 years. They probably have a better track record. All of those things you're going to have access to as a consumer. And I'm like, and I think it's fascinating because like, if you think about it also, wind back to like the 80s and you're like, what happened? So the consumers had no information. There was no internet. There was just television and maybe some newspaper. And so what happened was most of the selling had to happen through, right, sales teams calling people and informing them of information. Right. And it's like, that's how people would buy. And that was like the main thing, unless you go to the local retail store. And it's like, as the internet's come around in this age of information, the information's become more and more and more available. And now to the point where the information, the way the information is categorized and indexed is becoming better than the human can even think what they need. If that makes sense. It's like the information and the way that information is organized in the AI knows better what the actual human needs, which is like a wild concept.
Yeah, but that's dangerous because if you think about it well, all the businesses that are doing promotions that are not necessarily accurate and all of those kind of like gaps in the market right now, it's going to be gone. And that is a thing that's very dangerous.
Well, it's going to be a much more, I guess, transparent. You know what I mean? Because if you think about it, even in this current like zone of the market we're in right now, it's like if you have a shitty product and you're hiding your reviews, you're trying to manipulate and do certain things, it's like that's all going to be brought to the surface. You know what I mean? Because like the GPT won't exactly like care too much and say, oh, you know what? Oh, they seem like it will show it all. You know what I mean? There's a trend here. In the previous campaign, end of financial year, we can see that 40 customers didn't get their product. Oh my goodness, I didn't even see that. I only saw the ad and the landing page. Everything looked amazing. I was about to buy this thing and maybe I was about to get taken advantage of. So it's like, I think like the thing I love about this the most is the person that wins is the customer, right? And it's like, if you look at it from the lens of like, in business, and the reason that I love really competitive landscapes is because the person that wins is always the customer. And if you position your business in a way where it's like you're obsessed with helping the customer to win and being the most obsessive customer-centric, exactly why Amazon owns the market now, because that's all they're obsessed on. How do we be the most customer-centric business? It's like they own the whole entire e-commerce. They just dominate that thing because they obsessed on that. And so this is putting more and more and more power and more control into the hands of the customer, leveling the playing field even more than it already is, transparent, like these big brands with all these like mega campaigns of like maybe like manipulation of reviews, manipulation of press articles. It'll all come out and be pretty clear because people will say, well, actually, this is a much better option for you because despite being only open for 8 months, this brand has amazing reviews, constantly customer service is on point. Their shipping policies are outstanding. We suggest you go with this versus the big like mammoth company that's going to, I'm not sure, maybe screw you over, you know? So very, very interesting times, very interesting times.
Yes. And I think business owners, they need to start looking at, well, like, what should you do right now? Like, this is kind of like the thing that I'm thinking about is, well, this is happening. How can I position my business to dominate and really, win in this new system? Now, my view on this would be, and probably I'm very curious about your angle on this, but my view on this would be right now, you mentioned something, you need a good product. Like if you don't have a good product, then we're kind of wasting our time because it just means that you're advertising and all the effort you're doing is just to not win in the end. Even if you're running ads, you're constantly going to be chasing new creatives, new ad spend versus just your customers and always like the loyal customers and the referrals. That's how you can win in the end. But if I was to think about what are the actions, probably it's going to be easy. It's going to be around having things in your business, like the landing page, where the information is clear for AI to actually navigate. That's the first thing I think about. So, for example, the titles, they should be clear. You can't really just put in like a name there and just ignore it. All the details and the, let's say, specification of the product. What are we talking about in terms of colors? The shipping policies, refund policies, in terms of services. All these small details are going to play in terms of the decision making for AI because AI would analyze that. So I think that's probably the first thing I would start looking at and auditing. Would that be the same thing that you will do?
Oh yeah, like I mean, like if you think about what will happen or what is already happening in terms of it's like, so how are these? Like think about when you go into your GPT and you sit there and you look in the chat. If you've done like a Google search and you've asked the tool for maybe like I don't know what's the best local restaurant or what's the best this, what's the best X, right? And then you look in the chat and it's got all these suggestions, and then at the bottom of the chat it has live like hyperlinks where you can go and visit the actual like restaurant pages and all those types of things. And then so what that means is AI has crawlers or little tiny bots that are like constantly surveying every single thing on the web in real time all the time. And then based on, I guess, like the data that it's able to collect from sources in terms of like website, in terms of exactly what you said, like titles, words, images, then it's going to bring in and position certain things in different ranks based on the quality of the data that it's able to capture. And so if you think about it, it's like if you've got super ordinary kind of representation of your company by way of like images and content, you're going to be seriously disadvantaged. If you've got like really vague and ambiguous types of words, titles, kind of like naming conventions, all those types of things. It's like if the way to think about that is this. So if you think about when you go into AI yourself, right? Think about how many times it's like you talk to this tool and you're like, you get frustrated because it doesn't give you the answer that you want. And I just want you to think about this for a second. So that tool has more information you essentially have more information at your fingertips than any human in existence for all time. Like it's obscene, right? And the thing that's fascinating is that people still get onto that thing and they get crazy frustrated, right? Because they don't get the responses that they want. And I'm like, how insane is this? And then what determines the difference between somebody who is frustrated, they slap their laptop down, they go, oh, F this, I just can't make sense of this thing. It doesn't give me the responses I want. And they, flip out versus what happens if there's the person that is an absolute weapon at asking the right questions to the tool? What happens? They get genius responses. They speed up their output. They become so much more efficient. And so if you think about exactly that same situation, the quality of the input determines the quality of the response. And so if you think about brand founders, what does that mean? Okay, so it means that much in the same way as you sitting there and typing, what is best product for me to run fast? Something along those lines, right? And just really, 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 really almost like stupid. Okay, you're going to get a whole bunch of random responses. They're not going to be very specialized for you. They're not going to be very good versus the prompt engineer or the person who can sit there and ask really, really, really well organized questions around this type of running, this type of speed. This is my current heart rate. This is what's kind of going on. This is the outcome. I'm trying to train for a marathon. This is my current BMI. This is my current put all those types of responses in there. What's going to happen? You're going to get the response that's best for you. Okay. And so if you think about it from a brand position perspective, it's exactly the same thing. If you're the brand that has kind of titles, any forms of descriptions, any forms of like verbiage on your website that are equivalent to, right, we do this really good product. Versus this is how we help our customers. These are the specific details. These are the specific nuances. This is how we help. This is what happens if we don't help. These are our refund policies. These are our terms. It's like the GPT is going to be able to position your brand in a way very much the same to be able to find the exact customer that you want versus the brand that goes, we help people run fast. Whatever that might be.
So based on this, essentially, it's an avatar. It's going to be an avatar driven in terms of the landing page and how you communicate your. All right, because my view on this would be then, if let's say if I was to play it out, let's say we have a person that they just put in like I want the top 5, whatever, and when I think about like that search, that could trigger like if I was very detailed, probably I might not rank for that, but if I was to have that the same exact thing in my page, then probably that can link that person to me. So essentially, if I was to think about volume, then I'll build my landing page and information around the avatar. It's going to be, well, they're going to think about it. They're going to ask about these things. I'll make sure to position that. And then I'll think about, well, like the person searching is a person that's going to be buying. So I need to make sure that I have that information in there so that the AI can crawl it and kind of analyze it and make that decision for me. So it's going to be really an avatar-driven landing page, essentially.
I see it exactly as that, and this is concurrent with everything that we talk about in Ecom Capital and all the coaching calls, everything. It's like you must hyper obsess about a particular niche, and you need to do it, and you need to become very, very clear about who that person is that you're solving for, and then when you are, you can communicate right and directly to them. And what you said is exactly it. It's like the information that your chat might have historically about all of your behavior, all of your searches, it's going to use that kind of historical data to be able to kind of like assimilate all potential brands and all potential solutions, and then based on this data versus the data that it captures when it crawls, it's going to present you with solutions that are like, these are the opportunities that are best for you, right? And think about it from this lens, because the reason that I'm a big, massive proponent of writing, I love writing, and like I'll sit on Sunday for 4, 5, 6 hours and just write thoughts, ideas, concepts, because I'm like, the better you can take your ideas from your mind and articulate them into well-structured, well-written words that make a lot of sense, that flow really well, that you read them back and you're like, oh, that's stimulating, that sounds really good, right? Number one, the easier they are to communicate to other people. Number two, it actually increases like your own personal intelligence, because if you're able to know and articulate the thoughts and feelings and emotions in your head into words, you feel a little bit less insane. You know what I mean? You're like,
things are there, so I'm not necessarily just thinking about them. They're out there. I can see them.
I can put labels and frames onto the way that I feel, so I feel more organized, and I feel like I'm in control of how I feel, which is the whole human existence. If you can't control it, and this is why people feel confused and angry, and they can't kind of like control themselves, is because they can't attach certain words to the way that they feel. And so if you think about how that relates to ChatGPT, it's like, use very precise language, be very particular about how you communicate to the tool. Over time, that's going to develop much, much better understanding of what you want as a consumer. Then as a brand, you must do the same thing. You must speak very specifically about what you do. You must speak very specifically about the products, the solutions, the outcomes, the derivatives, the ingredients, the features, the benefits, all of the things about your company and what it does, so that you can marry high intent people with really, really high quality brands that solve problems for those high intent. This is a game changer for ecom. Like this is really, really, really powerful times.
Yeah, and I think it's also going to be a game of optimization, but also even the sellers, they're going to gain from this. You're going to have better customers, or at least the one that you're seeking, because if they're searching for you and you're searching to find them, then it's almost like it's compatible. If your page is really bad and you have all these, like, you're cursing in the page and you get someone that's doing that, then that's good. You're kind of getting what you're looking for. So it's going to be really a game of looking at your page, making sure that you're very much communicating to that person and knowing that AI would analyze this to do the match. So if I was, let's say, selling and I know that only people in Australia will buy from me, then I'll make sure to mention that I'm an Australian brand. If I'm, let's say, I want to really, I have a big cause, let's say I want to help, like we have like big causes or whatever you want to position. Let's say you're in the pet space and you're helping and you're doing some things like in terms of that's the mission of the business. You need to mention that in the page. It should be there, because that could be something that AI would analyze, and they're going to match you to someone that wants to support that cause. So I'm thinking about all these reasons or all these things that you can add in your business that could create personality that AI would analyze and then give you that return, just that customer that you wanted. And if you're just not looking at anything, just do your page, do the mistakes, like you don't really analyze it, then that's your fault. You're not going to get the right customer. And I think that's going to be the game. It's going to be optimizing, knowing that there is no room for like mistakes. Essentially, you need to really be detailed on your page.
That's exactly it. And I think if you think about it also from the perspective of like, what is it going to do from like a high level view? It's going to create better quality products for consumers ultimately. And so it's like, as a company, as an organization, for almost a decade now, that's what we've been doing. Focused and obsessed with building high quality brands, selling high quality products for founders and with founders who really give a shit about what they do and who they sell to. We don't support, and I never want to support, selling random crap to people and manipulating some kind of sales process to be able to kind of like extract as much money from the consumer at a way where the company wins and the customer loses. nothing to do with that. And so this move from ChatGPT and Shopify, it's going to continue moving in that direction. Better quality products.
You're ask for AI. Like right now, you're doing it.
Yeah,
the fact that you're saying it's going to analyze. You're doing an ad. I'm like, hey, this
I'm not incentivized.
I'm
not incentivized. But I think it's genuinely fantastic. And the thing that I would recommend for all founders, if you're listening to this at the moment, that will help to increase the speed of you being able to do these things is now here's what's very important. I'm going to tell you something in a minute, and I want you to do it, but I don't want you to go and rip in and action everything that comes as a result of this action straight away, okay? Because there's a couple of things here. So number one, you need to improve all of your titles. You need to improve all of your policies, bits and pieces to make sure all the language is super congruent. Very important. The way you can kind of fast track this even further is just go on to all of your product pages, your landing pages, whatever that might be, screen grab the entire thing, load all of the content into ChatGPT. Or better yet, if you want to take this one step further, go and train a GPT, load all your product pages in screenshot PDF versions into that GPT and ask it to give you feedback, give you kind of insights, give you directive that would make you better enabled to be able to be in a position whereby Shopify, ChatGPT, plugin integration would position you in a strong top spot. And then work, okay, it seems like this is incongruent. Okay, seems like your messaging here is inconsistent. If you had this title here versus this title here, right? It'll give you a whole bunch of recommendations based on your specific landing page, based on your policies, based on your wording, based on all those things specific for your business. But don't go and make categorical changes to your landing page, to your buy box, and all of a sudden your conversion rate drops because you're preparing for something 2 years in the future. So gradually and slowly start looking at these things almost as your game plan of beginning to ChatGPT organize and ChatGPT ready your Shopify business to rank in a higher position. That's probably my biggest takeaway, my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, and keep in mind that the Australian market is not necessarily the leader, right? So if you're in Australia, then you should think about, US first, then Australia. So we still have that gap. And we mentioned this in our last podcast about speed and kind of taking advantage. It's good to work on this, but there's still some time and some lag. This is just in the US, but you need to prepare. But I would not recommend to go and just change everything. I would actually align here and just do one thing at a time. Use AI, but don't necessarily just change your business.
It's such a good point because I think one thing, and we spoke about this before we started the podcast, but I think one thing that marketers do really well is they instill the fear of God in people to get them to do something, right? And that can always take people away from the main thing that they're doing right now. And what you said is a really key point. This piece of content here is designed to make you aware of what's coming. By no means would I recommend you uprooting your entire Black Friday, Cyber Monday strategy to completely go down the rabbit hole of preparing your business to be ChatGPT, Shopify ready. It's don't do that, okay? Be aware of this. This is going to come. This is going to change. Start making gradual movements. And the thing is, a lot of these things, if you start doing it now, strategically, step by step by step, it's probably going to help your current PPC conversion anyway. Because you're going to be more specific, you're going to be communicating better to a particular customer, you're going to be more thorough in terms of the way your landing page and everything's all designed. So it's going to help you in the business you're currently running. And I think it's very important to be aware of what's up and coming in the future is my view of this more than anything else.
And keep in mind, Meta and all these platforms, they're also using AI. So it's all kind of coming together, but just the goal would be optimize your landing page. That's for sure for your avatar. That's going to increase your conversion rate. As you mentioned, there's nothing wrong with that. But just be aware, be prepared, and gradually kind of use AI in that side where you know that people would search. Right now, it's probably not going to be, you need to go with this thing and just change everything in your business. It's going to be aware of it and do one action at a time. And Meta is also updating the algorithm. And we talked about this in the last session about, AI content is coming in and Meta is aware of this. So they're going to start looking at that prioritization. Same thing with Google. They're prioritizing human content versus, let's say, AI. So that's a whole other thing that we can look at.
Correct. So we have a few big episodes coming up. I know we have another case study, founder story, I believe, next one. And then After that, I believe we're going to jump into some of Meta's recent changes in terms of the Andromeda update, what's happening with that, and how you can make sure you're staying ahead of those things. So lots of very, very powerful, relevant, and impactful topics and conversations coming up that are really designed to help your brand to get ahead, to help your brand to stay on top of what's coming, and make sure that you're always positioning yourself in a way where you know what's coming, you're prioritizing the most important things, and you're able to get the most result with the resources you've got in front of you. Hamen, always a pleasure, my friend. And this one's been a really impactful, short, sweet, direct to the point episode. So I appreciate your contributions. And I'm excited to see how we can leverage this in the community and help founders win through this ChatGPT Shopify integration.
Absolutely, very excited. I'm always looking at AI and what we're using. And right now the goal for us is leverage AI and scale up. And by the way, for the Meta updates, we're going to be talking about this, but we have actually some information around like what Meta is prioritizing, and we have some things that we're going to be talking about that are very exciting. So I'm very excited.
And I have a big, spoiler alert. I have a big meeting next week? No, on the 13th. So I don't know when this one will be aired, but I have a big meeting with our Meta rep. He's very, very good. Meeting him here in person on the Gold Coast on the 13th, and we're going to be discussing what's coming for the landscape of 2026, the platform itself, which types of conversion kind of objectives, what's happening, what's changing. There's a whole bunch of new product releases that they're bringing out that he's kind of made me aware of, and a lot of these things we're going to be sharing on the next up and coming episode after we do this founder story. So some really big things coming on the podcast, and super excited to share these with you as our audience and continue equipping you for the best of the best of the best, and keeping you ahead of what's to come. Hamen, thanks so much, and pumped for the next one.
Excited for the next one.